Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Welcome.
It's not.
Thank you for coming.
It's not on.
This is important. We're so happy to see you. Can you hear me? No.
Hello?
Yeah. I mean, I know how to yell, but this is a little easier on me. Again, welcome and thank you for coming. We're about ready to get started here.
Yeah, right.
Right at my mouth. Kiss the mic. I'm responsible for letting you know about a few basic safety rules. Restrooms, you probably already saw. There's a set of restrooms down the hall here, and also around the corner, there's another set of restrooms. Those are going to be tornado shelter if we had bad weather. Now, fortunately, I don't think that's going to happen tonight, so that's a good thing. We don't have to worry about that. Next, I want to ask you a question. Anybody here ever been on fire? Like, I mean, literally, clothes on fire. Anybody? 2 of us. 3, 4. All right. Those are stories to tell. Those are our tattoos that we didn't have to go get inked on us. It's a story for another day. But my point is I want to let you know that I take safety very seriously, which is why I'm the one up here standing talking to you about it. So trust me, this is our community tonight, right here. Yep. And in an emergency situation, you want to know your neighbor. And I saw a lot of friendly people here already introducing, but I'd like you to turn around now. Say hello to somebody that you haven't met yet and say your name. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi back there. I'm Joey. Hi Rebecca. Nice to meet you. Joey. Hi Ellie. Hi, I'm Ivy. Hi, Ivy, Joey.
My name is Nita. Nope. Hello, everybody. And I want to tell Buddy, look how friendly we are, Buddy. Come on and talk to us. Okay, now I want you to look around the room. Look for your nearest exit. In case of a fire, we've got exits at the back, exits here, where you came in. Also, if this is blocked, around the corner, again, past those restrooms. Our rally point will be to the right of the building where those 2 tall pine trees are at, near the parking lot, in the event of an emergency. And now you all know one another, take care of each other, right? Yes. Right, okay. I'm very happy to introduce to you the chair of our Savannah Indivisible organization, the Coastal Georgians for Democracy, Chris Michalski. He's worked very hard.
We may or may not have some difficulty with the microphones this evening, but democracy doesn't need microphones. We can do this.
That's right.
So we'll power through. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for making time to be here. This is a public town hall set up by Coastal Georgia for Democracy, Savannah's indivisible group. Our district, the first district of Georgia, has not had an in-person town hall meeting with our U.S. representative since 2017.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Now, it is, somebody had asked me this at one point, so I want to make it clear. It is common for U.S. representatives to hold in-person town hall meetings. My old representative in Louisiana had held multiple in-person town hall meetings on his recesses, and he was often among constituents who disagreed with him. It's just what representatives should do. All of our elected officials should be equally accessible and responsive. As such, we have put pressure on him for months to hold a meeting. He has resisted. However, a few weeks ago, he did finally capitulate a little to hold a teletown hall. But it was a sign that our pressure has been seen, but it seemed designed to gatekeep and limit genuine interaction with his constituents. No information or confirmation was given about how the phone call would occur. He limited his speaking time. All questions were screened, and he faced no real scrutiny or pushback on his misinformation. For instance, he announced on the call that he was told by police that it was unsafe for him to hold town halls. We didn't believe that at first, but we did take the time to verify that claim. We learned that he had not spoken to local police at all about that. His office claimed much later that he was instead citing something that the Capitol Police told him in 2017. We haven't verified with them if that in fact happened, but it's still a lame excuse. So we set up a town hall on our own and invited him. He refused. So we're here to collect the questions for him about the many issues affecting our community in order to present that to him in video and letter format. This is your opportunity to be heard, to ask questions, and to raise concerns that matter to you and your neighbors. Please note, I've said this before, but please do note that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and please silence your cell phones. It's a lovely scene. Everybody reaching into their pockets. On your agenda that you have there, lists the general format for this, as well as the basic agenda. I do want you to flip it over. On the back, we have some information for you regarding contacting as many of your representatives as you can. We also have a QR code there that if you would like to sign a letter, we are going to send a letter and the link to this YouTube video to Representative Carter. If you would like to sign that letter, we are just going to ask all of the questions that you hear tonight, as well as the questions that were asked in the prior to this event. Please feel free to sign that at any time now or later, but that's what the format of that letter will be, the questions asked this evening. So the format here tonight is structured around questions submitted by topic. Each question will be implicitly addressed to our current U.S. representative, Representative Earl Buddy Carter. However, we are also joined by several local representatives and potential candidates. If questioners would also like to address their questions to one of these individuals, they are welcome to do so. Otherwise, local representatives may volunteer to respond on a first-come, first-served basis. Responses will be limited to a maximum of 1 minute. After each answer, 1 30-second rejoinder may be offered by another honored attendee if desired. So before we begin, I'd like to ask our representatives and candidates present to very briefly introduce themselves by name and state the position they hold or are seeking. Please do keep in mind that this is a town hall focused on issues and dialogue. It is not a campaign event. So I'm going to turn it over to Randy. Would you start first? And you're going to want to speak directly into the microphone, like real folks.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I guess I'll just stay seated for this. My name is Randy Zerker. I've been here since 2003. I live over in the Chatham Crescent, Ardsley Park area with my wife Mercedes, my 2 teenage sons, and my teenage stepdaughter. I work for the Savannah Federation of Teachers, Paraprofessionals, and School-Related Personnel, and I'm also a licensed realtor. You might know me from coaching youth soccer at Savannah United.
Use the mic.
Sorry, I'm sorry about that.
You got to get real close for you all too.
I'm sorry. Maybe you've seen me in the public schools, or maybe you've seen me wave my big Ukrainian flag at rallies, protests. especially in front of Buddy's office. I've been told we can't talk too much, but I want to tell you, I plan to run against Buddy Carter, and I'm not doing it because I want the seat. I'm doing it because I'm pissed off. I'm angry about what happened on TV.
Hi, good evening. My name is Denise.
You just
Yeah,
have
if you're
to
really-
kiss it.
I think it's on.
It is.
Right up to your mouth. I can also project. My name is Denise Krabowski. I am the current District 1 representative on the Board of Education. And I do want to say it is a nonpartisan seat. So I am not here as a Democrat or a Republican. I am here as a representative of education because of all of the change in the air and potential change in the air. I think education voice is critical. So I thank you for the opportunity to be here. And I do want to correct what's on the agenda. I was the VP last year. That is the seat that typically the VP changes each year. So I'm no longer the VP, but I am just starting my second term as a District 1 representative on the Board of Education. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Patty Hewlett. I was the 2024 Democratic nominee for Congress in 1st Congressional District. Democratic nominee, but more than that, I am a proud American. And I am here as an American citizen. And I am so glad to see all of you here. I can't wait for a dialogue. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I'm A. Whiteley. My real name's Aaron. My friends call me A. I am the 6th District County Commissioner who sits on the Chatham County Board of Commissioners. I represent the South Side and Southwest Chatham County. Some will say the last frontier as we see all the growth taking place in our county. I wear multiple hats. Another hat I wear is the chairman of the Democratic Party of the Chatham County also serve on a few national and some leadership and some national spots. So these discussion points I have a little bit of knowledge on as I serve as vice chair of NACO, or National Association of Counties International Economic Development Task Force, as well as NACO's Veterans and Military Affairs Committee. So look forward to engaging with you all.
We're gonna do questions.
Oh, check.
Adon had an amazing tactic here, so if you do end up asking a question out there, I encourage you to do like he did and wrap your hand around the mic and talk real loud into it. Sorry, this is the human material. We're going to begin the questions now. We're going to try to follow the schedule basically on the agenda. As it turned out, there were a lot of questions front-loaded specifically about DOGE and the federal agencies, so we might go a little over on those. To begin with, I wanted to say that I did ask for questions to be submitted ahead of time. I'm going to largely follow those, but I would also like to see if you all have some follow-up questions that may not have been addressed by the pre-submitted questions. We are going to begin with the economy, tax reform, and funding. We have several budget questions. So I'd like to begin with Rosanna Horton, and I'm going to pass this one on. I'll pass this on to you. Is Rosanna Horton here?
Right here.
All right, Rosanna, if you'd like to ask your question.
I can also read the question for you, but if you remember what it is, please feel free.
Hello.
Hello.
I am a volunteer with the Democratic Party of Chatham County. I am the community outreach person. My name is pronounced Rosanna Horton, Dr. whichever. And my question was, what are the 5 things you have done in the last week? The price of eggs.
I'm going to assume, well, if any of you would like to respond to that.
I can't answer the letter.
I think we'll let that one go as an implicit question. No, it's okay. Can you all hear me okay in the back?
Yes.
I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling with you. Bob Morgan also asked the question. We have Bob. Bob's over here. Bob Morgan, Bob, you had a lot of questions. If you could try to condense it, I think one of your main one has to do with the Congressional Budget Office.
Okay. This is the tax
Budget, yeah, budget.
budget, okay. You claim the tax cuts of 2017 paid for themselves in growth, yet the national debt ballooned. Please explain this basic contradiction, or is this just another lie to justify tax breaks for the rich?
I would offer it over. Randy would like to respond.
What seems to be the case is that our public institutions are being rated, things that we've paid into, working people have paid into all their working lives, have been rated so we can fund a tax cut to more billionaires. They want an oligarch state where we're all just expendable workers. And I'm against it. That's all I got.
All right. Amy Soldner, I've never known how to pronounce your last name. Oh, Patty, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. You know, I just wanted to point out,
Sorry.
Yeah.
can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right. I just wanted to point out that, is that better? Is that better? Okay. I just wanted to point out the difference in policy. You know, when we're thinking about who we want to elect or who we want to vote for, we really need to pay attention to policies. The policy was if we cut taxes that are going to primarily benefit rich people or wealthy people or large corporations, the benefits of those tax cuts are going to trickle down to us. So my question to you is, are any of you wet? No. Are any of you feeling that trickle down effect? And the reason, and I'm being facetious, but I'll be serious for just a second, it's because that is simply a lie to justify large tax cuts for corporations and for people that have power and influence.
Amy, you had a question about the big beautiful bill.
I do, and I have it right here. You all hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Representative Carter, will you vote for the so-called one big beautiful bill? A $5.5 trillion tax giveaway that overwhelmingly benefits billionaires and high-income households, while your own constituents are struggling to afford rent, groceries, healthcare, and student loans? If so, why are you prioritizing tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy over the basic needs of the people you were elected to represent?
So I can't answer for Buddy Carter, but I will say, if I'm not mistaken, he already did vote for it. He voted in the affirmative in support of that big tax break that is also going to balloon our deficit by trillions of dollars. So to answer your question, he already did.
He's got some explaining to do.
I want to turn it over to anybody in the audience who had any follow-up questions on budget, on or the economy or funding for Georgia.
Yes. Hi, I'm Frankie Kelly. I wanted to know, Buddy, what are you doing to reclaim the $30 million that FEMA drew back from flood abatement in Chatham County?
Do you all have any comments on that? That's a good question.
He'd probably say
It would be very helpful if you were here.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is about the cuts to education. Is that relevant now, or is that?
You know what? I was going to move us into DOGE and federal agencies. So,
Where do you want to?
is there another question about budget though? All right, great. We'll come back to you.
Representative Carter, excuse me. The House budget plan cuts Social Security, and for many of us approaching retirement, this is a betrayal. Rather than cut or privatize our entitlements, what can you do to strengthen Social Security and Medicare and support our aging population?
What I'd like to say about that particular question is the fact that the way that you shore up Social Security is, first of all, to ensure that people are paying their fair share of taxes, because we need income. But the other thing that we need is we need people working in the United States, and that means we need immigrants. We need immigrants to work and be prosperous and start businesses and pay their taxes. This is why it is unusually cruel of them in a regime that is fine with cruelty to actually put immigrants on a dead list in the Social Security office and cut them out from their financial lifeline here in the United States in order to force them out. To me, that policy, that action does not make sense. We need more taxes coming in, and we need more people paying payroll taxes. And those two things will help us a great deal to shore up Social Security.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move into, we're going to move into talking about DOGE and federal agencies. But before we do, Mr. Whiteley has a comment on the economy.
So I just wanted to share, as I talked about my many hats, the International Economic Development Task Force. One of the things that we do is have conversations with international agencies, international governments, and Canada was one that we had a chance to meet with in February. And I just want to share some interesting stats as we talk about how our economy is affected by the tariff war that's going on right now. In the 1st Congressional District, Georgia exports over $800 million in goods and services annually. To go a little bit deeper, there are about 92 Canadian-owned businesses that are, and let me back up. When I said 800 million, that's in the 1st Congressional District. That is not the rest of the state. That is just our congressional district. Further, in the 1st Congressional District, there are about 3,500 jobs and 92 Canadian-owned businesses that employ our neighbors. So as we hear these discussions about tariffs and things like that, it's not just going to hit us in the grocery store. It's going to hit us in other avenues of our economy.
Thank you. We have a lot of questions about DOGE and federal agencies. I think a total of about 10. We're going to try to get to as many of them as we can. Is Clement Norton here? Is Ashley? Did Clement raise? No. Okay. Is Ashley Childs here? In the interest of time, I'm going to skip to the people who are here to ask them first. Roxanne Solier? Kevin Thompson? I hope all the DOGE people didn't. Barbara Stuck? Barbara Stuck here? I might read for them in a minute if we don't have any DOGE people here ask any questions. I'm going to ask, we had several questions about Social Security related to that. So it's shown Wade here.
Yes.
There. All right. Would you like me to ask it? Actually, so I think it's pretty simple. Actually, what are you doing to protect our Social Security and Medicare? I don't know if you all had a comment to that. I can just say that I do know that on the Teletown Hall, which many people didn't even get a call for, maybe even let alone knew about, he basically said it's all fine and nothing's happening to it. So that was his answer to some people had some very similar questions. He said DOGE was trustworthy and to not worry about it.
I'm going to go ahead and throw in my response to that because I have a family member who works for Social Security Administration. He is a Tier 2 employee solving problems for people who are looking for their benefits. And he works at a Chicago office. DOGE was in their office on the 10th floor last week.
Wow.
Fired 3 employees for apparently not having their badge. Now that's not, I'm not gonna tell you that's confirmed, but that's what they believe. So we know, in fact, Social Security has been touched and has already been mentioned here. We already have immigrants who have been placed on a dead list at Social Security. So we know Buddy told us another lie, and there you have it.
We have, all of the submitted DOGE questions are going to go, but if there are people here live.
Mark, I believe the United States of America very deeply in democracy. Why is it that now the correspondence is being shifted to Twitter between between Social Security employees and eventually between people who are trying to access Social Security? That's an Elon Musk owned company. Yeah. Why are you in bed with Elon Musk instead of your constituents?
Yes.
Money.
Can you bring up Doreen, please? Randy has a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is Buddy Carter abdicating his responsibility.
Yes. That's good. Any other DOGE questions or budget related questions? We have one.
And given that if we didn't educate each other, we'd still be living in caves. How can you, with good conscience, get rid of the Department of Education?
Edward, could you bring the mic to Denise, please?
So the Department of Education, as I think we probably have learned more about it since it's been in the news, so maybe that's a silver lining, is responsible for ensuring that every single child has access to a free, high-quality public education. And the federal government is the one that makes sure that that happens. So the question is, without that oversight from the Department of Education, what will happen to those children? Will they fall through the cracks? Yeah. And it breaks my heart to think, I am very proud of our district and what we do in Savannah, Chatham County, but I cannot speak to what other districts do. And having that check and balance is important. And the Department of Education is not in charge of curriculum. So to say that we're getting rid of the Department of Education because of what's being taught is a fallacy.
Yeah.
We can't hear
Just hold it.
You gotta yell at it.
Yep.
Certainly, okay. I have a question that I did write in about DOGE, and it has to do with the idea that with Buddy having been a representative all this time, as well as other representatives, how is it that they see fit now to give up their power completely? The whole idea of having the three parts of our government, they're turning everything over to the executive without a whimper or a cry, when they have so much power as representatives to do the things that they do. In addition to also giving the executive the power to control the judiciary, to impeach judges that they don't like, rather than doing their third of the business that they're supposed to be taking care of, which is very powerful, which has a lot of control, can do many, many things. They're just abdicating their positions and letting the Heritage Foundation and others write laws for them, and they just sign them with their fancy signatures. I don't understand that, because I always thought representatives enjoy being powerful men, and mostly men and women, and they're just laying down. Is there any way we can change and understand?
Sorry for the mic situation. Randy, would you mind?
I mean, I can say without a mic.
That'd be great.
I was just gonna say, I may be wrong about this, but I think besides the map of red, white, and blue land, the thing about impeaching judges was the other thing that Buddy's done lately.
Yeah.
Completely undemocratic.
Yeah, illegal.
Okay, we have a question up front.
Hello, everybody. You can hear me? All right. I did also put one in. My name's Julia. About 2.5 years ago, I had a grand mal seizure and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis 3 months after having my baby. Because of that, I am unable to work. And with the decision to close 5 Social Security administrative offices, I am very concerned because I am somebody who hasn't even waited as long as many, many other people that are still waiting to try to get on disability. So what are the plans, Buddy, and what do some of our beautiful human beings up front, what are some of your thoughts?
So as a county commissioner, one thing that I see, and I hope not as a phrase, I don't think silver lining is the best phrase here, but something that is really recognized is that a lot of politics are local. And as we see cuts in federal funding that are supporting our social safety net through nonprofits, we're seeing it across the board here in Chatham County. What's gonna happen, unfortunately, is that we as local citizens are gonna have to, and local governments are gonna have to look at how we can pick up the ball and fill in some gaps. Now we're gonna have to, it's a delicate balancing act because of course, that means our taxes are in effect there. So we're in this weird space where we can sit and do nothing and just point at DC, or we can galvanize ourselves, kind of like we're doing tonight, to look at what we can do locally. So I'm sorry about your situation, and I pray that your little one is okay. And as we move further, I think it's going to be imperative upon everybody in this room to engage us locally, you know, county commission, when it comes to education, sorry, Denise, engage in our Board of Education to see where we can pick up the ball and fill in gaps. But we're also going to have some tough conversations because, you know, with responsibility comes the need for resources to carry out those responsibilities. So I just want to kind of put that in your hat.
Thank you.
I'll just quickly, because he mentioned picking up the ball locally, at our last school board meeting, our district adopted free breakfast and free lunch for every single student. That program will be funded by USDA. We don't know if those dollars will be there. It is a reimbursable grant, but we felt it was important enough for our children to make sure that they are well fed so that they can learn. So we took that risk upon ourselves. We're going to do everything we can to submit reimbursement requests timely and hope that we get reimbursed, but we just don't know.
We'll have a time to have follow-up questions in this topic, but for right now, I'm going to ask one more that was submitted for regarding the agencies, and then we're going to move on to some of the other topics. There will, when there's time after those, please retain your questions and ask them. So, I'm sorry. Okay, but apparently, okay.
I feel terrible now.
That's okay.
However, I received Buddy Carter's email And in there, he stresses the need for transparency and how he wants to make sure that we're well informed. My question is a DOGE question, and it is, today Elon Musk is over DOGE, tomorrow Elon Musk isn't over DOGE, and then the next day it could be different. And then I also want to know, if you're about transparency, can we be transparent with your constituents about who really is leading this country? Is it Elon Musk? Is it Donald Trump? Be very transparent and stop, hiding the ball when the questions come. And then another question I had is, how long are we gonna allow 19-year-olds who do not like people who look like me to continue to make decisions about my information, who it's shared with, and what they do with it? Because unacceptable that we are living in a time right now where Black and brown people are targets, and not just targets, but our information is now out there, so people can find you and do whatever they would like to do, because in most agencies, you add whether you are African American or Hispanic, so they know who you are and where you are. That's completely taking away the safety of anyone in our country.
Would any of our respondents wanted to? No.
It's hard, folks. It's hard not to hold back. I think the point of that, you bring up such an excellent point. To me, when I look at these actions, the point of it is to strike fear into your heart.
Yes.
What I would say is that we need to join you in that fear, because today it's you, tomorrow it's her, next day it's him, next day it's her. This is all designed to make us be afraid to use our voices or to say things. Same reason why they're using masked, unmarked cars to go into people's homes and pick them up and drag them out into some unknown state and then bring them out of the country and then leave them there to languish out of the country. It's the same reason they're doing that. That is why we must resist.
I just want to agree with Patty on that, but all I would add is we need to take the rage and get rid of our fear. Channel that rage so we don't have the fear anymore, because they need to be afraid of us.
All right, unfortunately, there are a lot of issues that we're upset with Buddy about. So we will come back. If you still have a question, there will probably still be time for it. I would like to turn us into international policy now. This is a special question for our district, because our congressman put forward a bill encouraging the president to take Greenland over by any means necessary, essentially. Jan Suter Maxwell, are you here? Melinda Workman? I'm going to read one of them, and because I'm curious to see if any of our respondents also have a question or have a response. Buddy Carter, you promoted the idea of red, white, and blue land. If Greenland refuses to sell itself to the USA, will you in fact support sending American troops to take it by force?
That's
We
right.
need a yes or no.
That's good.
No.
Yeah.
It's an ally.
So
We don't attack our allies.
Are we in NATO? Are we still in NATO?
Are we still in there?
Yeah,
That's
right.
a good question.
I'd actually like to ask a question on that real quick. My name is Mike Arcangelo, 2011 West Point grad, 10-year veteran. I flew to Afghanistan 6 times. I know you're going to boo this next part. Registered Republican. I voted for Ms. Hewitt, though.
Woo!
I met with a lot of Danish special operations officers and soldiers. and they were excellent allies of ours in the global war on terror.
That's right.
So my question for Congressman Carter is, how do I explain to them HR 1161 and why we're trying to annex part of their country right now?
Right.
Good question.
Joining our panel. Ah, dark horse.
So in schools, we are constantly fighting bullying.
Oh, yeah.
It's really hard to tell children not to be bullies these days.
On that note, Joanne, Lukacher?
I just had something to say about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I keep
Okay,
missing
please.
the where the mic gets
I'm
passed.
sorry.
I apologize. I didn't know.
I'm of the opinion, this is my personal opinion with regards to Greenland or taking over Canada or any of these things, is that the whole point is to find a war, I believe.
Yeah.
Because if they actually find a war, instead of just saying we're at war, because they keep saying we're at war, at some point, they're gonna have to actually find a war. Because what that allows them to do then is to suppress all of the rights, any rights that we actually have left at that point, in order to institute martial law. And I think that, to me, is what they are looking for.
All right, so first, thank you for your service, sir. And I had the, so I think what you said, it really highlights a greater issue, which is our stance in the international, in the world, period. I remember being in Afghanistan, RCEs, presence patrols, we're going into different areas and we're asking them, what do you need? And they would say, the same thing that we told the last guy is what we needed, right? And so after you keep asking those questions, they lose faith in you. And so now what we have is foreign policy practices that is seeking to isolate our nation in a way that is moving us away from allies, but also really weakening our stance in foreign policy and just throughout the world. And so the isolationism approach has proven not to work. It's already proven not to work. And we have troops stationed throughout our world right now. And as we try to play the invisible bully throughout, or the actual visible bully with red, white, and blue land, oh God, it's stuff like that. What we're doing is putting those service members at risk. We're putting those foreign service officers at risk. So I think that when we see this, though we may make light of it, this is a very, very serious issue that we're facing, because there are folks who fly right off of this airfield up the road who are in danger right now because of how our federal government chooses to portray us to the world.
That's right.
Is Walter Richter here? We're not having great luck with that. Walter Richter asked about Representative Carter, how can you stand, actually this might be yours, Randy, but when will you stand up for the people of Ukraine? And Randy, you also submitted a question. So will you ask a question as well for Representative Carter? You said, how can you stand by while our felon-in-chief abandons our ally Ukraine to cozy up to the dictator Vladimir Putin?
Yes.
Do you support democracy? If you do, you should act like it. If you don't, resign now and move to Russia. We have another question regarding.
Hi, I'm Bob Allen. Buddy, a number of you have been concerned about what you refer to as DEI.
Yeah.
And we have a Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Who is not qualified for the job.
Woo! Yeah.
His rank in the service is not much different than mine. It's just that I was in the jungle. I'm not quite sure where he was at.
In the bar.
Hold his feet to the fire. The reason that's important is when you're trying to do anything, or we're trying to do anything we're sending troops into harm's way. Those troops are not stupid. I survived Vietnam, not because I was able to duck and dodge bullets. I survived because my guys didn't shoot. And when you are the biggest enemy to your troops, you don't last. If you talk about sending them to places like Greenland for no reason, they figure it out pretty quick. And that's true of other parts of the country. That's just a hard down on the ground. And sir, I know if you were there in the Army, you had to be able to motivate your troops. And if they thought that you were the worst enemy, and the orders were going to be the worst for them, you didn't have motivated troops and you weren't going to accomplish your mission. So if you want us to be successful, you need to dig deep, buddy, into assessing whether or not you have the right Secretary of Defense before we all pay a price for that incompetence.
Do you have a response to that? You don't have to. That's true.
I'm Michael. Once again, this is about international, but also goes with the economy. Foreign countries own $835 billion in bonds of our debt. And by you dragging them, they could bankrupt the United States of America, buddy, if they sell those. What are you going to do to change the policy of terrorists and unnecessary hardship on the United States of American public and constituency and the insanity of an irresponsible economic policy?
That's right.
I'm just checking in to see if our buddy doll is alive. He's been more responsive and representative to you than our actual congressman has, so he's doing better.
Dummy buddy.
I think it's great that you brought up bonds because bonds are a big part of what we do here locally. Today, the county commission had a workshop to discuss the likelihood of SPLOST 8 and what we would look to accomplish with that. We have projects that still have to get done from SPLOST 7, but part of that is getting bonding to actually get this done. So when we hear the discussion about the bond market tumbling, I think it was Thursday or Friday night, that affects us directly because it is bonds, which is pretty much a government loan that somebody is banking on. Government pays their bills, so they'll lend government the money to do a major capital project. And that's very common throughout the United States, from the smallest municipality up to, the state level in a lot of ways. So again, this discussion about bonds and the bond market, it matters and it affects us directly because again, if we're not able to leverage bonds, then projects that we need to do may take a lot longer, may happen increment by increment because we only have so much capital or cash flow to put into these projects. So please be mindful of that. And again, keep resisting, keep speaking up about it, because if we sit on our hands, our hands get numb and nothing gets done.
We have another question back there about DOGE. There's so much going on. Foreign policy.
My name is Stephen Haynes. I work for one of the largest freight brokerage third-party logistics companies in the world. Savannah is largely run by our port. 78% of what comes in from the eastern seaboard comes through Savannah. And most of these tariffs that are put on other countries are causing the price of products to be so high to pay for the tariffs that they outweigh the cost of the goods that are actually on these ships that are coming into Savannah. Buddy, what are you doing to help us keep our jobs in Savannah, keep those people employed at the ports, keep people like me employed that works for a brokerage firm that helps transport goods and services all across the United States, into Canada, into Mexico, all around North America? What are you doing to help us with those tariffs? Most of those products that are on those ships, they're being abandoned and just in the middle of the ocean because nobody's willing to pay those tariffs.
Thank you very much. This might miraculously may work a little bit. We can come back to all of these issues later. if needed, if there are continuing questions, I'm going to move on to ask about immigration reform and due process. The first question that I have here is from Catherine Ossenford. It's a long question. I could read it for you, or if you'd like to speak it yourself, you may. Catherine, are you here? Representative Carter, you've been a strong supporter of former President Trump. Well, President Trump's immigration policies emphasizing strict enforcement and border security. Recently, there have been concerning incidents such as the detention of Tufts University student, a Turkish national arrested by ICE agents without clear charges, allegedly for pro-Palestinian activism. Additionally, the wrongful deportation of Kilmar Rodrigo Garcia, Maryland father, with legal protection status to a maximum security prison in El Salvador due to an administrative error. I'm going to add in there that the administration agreed that they did that in error. How do you, has raised questions about the implementation of these policies. How do you reconcile your support for these immigration policies with the apparent violations of due process and civil liberties demonstrated in these cases?
This might work.
Maybe? Hello? You know, once again, I'm just gonna keep saying this over and over again. These policies that they have are intentional. What they are doing is they are desensitizing us to eliminating the rule of law. And they're using what they consider to be, I don't, but what they consider to be low-hanging fruit, meaning immigrants, as their test case. And if we do not voice our opinion about this loudly, if we do not tell our judges, our Supreme Court, that they must uphold, if you work for a law firm, socialize this in your law firm. Do not let these law firms buckle to these people. Because these are all little tests. They're little things to see. Next time, maybe there'll be 50 fewer people here, and next time, and people will begin to retreat. No, I say we go forward and go forward far and make sure that we know these are the principles under which we live. Law and order and the rule of law, they will not suspend habeas corpus in this country.
You have a question?
Yes, I have a related question. Mr. Carter, what will you do to stop the president from disappearing American citizens to a torture prison in El Salvador, as he said he would do today?
Yes.
How will you stand up in Congress and stop this madness?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eddie, and I work with Migrant Equity Southeast, based here in Savannah. My question has to do with essentially this administration had moved to take away U.S. citizenship from kids like me, who are children of immigrants who have been, insulted, being called anchor babies for decades. What are you going to? Why are you so scared, Congressman Carter, of people like me becoming U.S. citizens?
So I appreciate your comments, and as the son of an immigrant, I know how you feel. The reality is that Trump and his friends and his cronies are afraid of folks like you and myself, because the data shows that we are more productive members of society than their Kool-Aid drinking friends. The data shows that diversity, equity, and inclusion improves businesses. It improves. And so one thing we have to be mindful of, and again, I'm gonna always bring it back local. I can tell you a story of somebody who, and you may have heard this one, somebody who was a Puerto Rican national, lives here, and was rounded up in Chatham County due to one of these roundups, and his father had to bring his birth certificate to prove that he was a citizen. So just like Patty said, today it's one person, tomorrow it might be your next door neighbor, tomorrow it might be the person who you say hello to every morning at the coffee shop. So we cannot let this group get lighter. This group has to get heavier. We have to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes. Okay, let's go right here, and we have two questions over there. Oh, wait, sorry, 1 second, sir. We're gonna go over here, and then we'll come back to you.
So we saw that the Supreme Court has said that it has to bring the man that they deported, the person they deported by error. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0, which is unseen in this current Supreme Court, that they have to bring him back. And Trump has basically said that he's not going to do it. That is not what their order said to do. So, Buddy Carter, what are you going to do to
Bring him home.
Trump, to hold him accountable and make him listen to the Supreme Court?
Did you want to respond to that?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the president of El Salvador today said that. Yeah, said he's not gonna send the guy back.
That's because they can't.
So I mean, that's an official concept. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. As ADOT said, tell your friends we are in a 100% constitutional crisis now. There's no room for. Yes, you first, ma'am, and then sir. I'm sorry, we're just going in order. Yes, you first.
Got it. So I'm saying, my name is Tia Brightwell, and I'm from the Fraser Homes Community Public Housing. We have no protection in the city. We don't have any voice either because most people are silencing us, from the city officials to the county commissioners to even your federal and your state people. We don't have a voice. This big old sign says, you cut food stamps, they did. They did. You cut Medicaid, you did. So what I'm saying is that most of my people ain't coming in this room though. You know why they're not coming in this room? Because yeah, they probably are afraid.
They're scared.
They're scared. I've had to take risks. I ran for office last year in 2024, putting my family on the line, lost my car, almost lost my home. If it was not for me doing GoFundMe to feed my children, because I said what I was going to step out and be a voice for my community that is silent, because guess what? They have a right to be silent. They're afraid, just like immigrant people. They're afraid. So my thing is, if they come in this room, what protection are we offering them? If I was to form a resident council right now, tomorrow, what protection in the broader community of Savannah are you offering us who are illegal, considered illegal, right? We're considered not having a voice. So I'm saying, yes, I'm concerned about all of my neighbors. I show up for all of my neighbors. Yeah. I go to different organizations, different individuals. Gia is shaking her head. I go to city trainings all the time. I walk places before I had a car. Diagnosed with lupus. Talked to Buddy Carter face to face. Did I not, Miss Patty? He called a telegram to talk to lupus patients, and I have not seen a change yet. Atlanta gets richer and richer by the day with their lupus support group, and people here in Savannah suffer every day just to get medicine and food. That's right. We need protection.
That's right.
So the reality is the only protection that there is strength in numbers at this point. Because, I mean, you just said it. You've gone to the city and you're not getting the reaction that you're looking for. You said you've gone to the county. You know, I'm not sure, and I'll be happy to answer to anything that you've asked the county, and you're not getting the answer that you're looking for. But I can tell you that when there's one finger, that can do a little bit, but a fist can do a lot. And so the strength in numbers is important. Now, I want to highlight something that I hope everybody in this room caught that she's saying, because it can be a touchy subject, but there are African American, there are people who are from disadvantaged communities in our community who won't feel comfortable in this room. And so that's an indictment on us, as a community. So when she's saying that, we, again, just like we talked about our immigrant neighbors who are being removed because they're not being deported, because that's a process, we have to be mindful that there are fights right here in our backyard, which goes back to my original point. Politics is local. Politics is local. The national stuff we're seeing, it has an effect. But again, those people who are bringing your groceries, those Uber Eats or your Uber driver, or that person who's giving you that vanilla cream latte, may be a neighbor who may not feel comfortable in this room, willing to speak out because of, any type of repercussions that they may face. So I appreciate you saying that and being vulnerable, because that takes a lot. And the last thing I want to say is that some of the ugly truths and the soft white underbelly that we know exists in our community, we no longer have the ability or we cannot just sit and ignore that, y'all, because it's going to be some of those same folks who are going to be swinging for you on your behalf. Some of those same folks who you may have looked the other way. Some of the same folks who might not like the same music as you. Some of the same folks who might not like some of the same food as you, or may put raisins in their potato salad or not. But again, we are a community, but if we're saying that, we have to display that as well. So thank you for that.
Just got to say one really quick thing, and then it's your turn. I would, I'm just taking the prerogative that I'm up here. Just a quick follow-up. If you are a church-going folk, you need to tell your parishes, your churches about this. Those are not political for a lot of people. I think the churches around here need to get very visible in terms of that. Sir, I'm so sorry. Thank you for your patience.
A comment to get all the way back to the base for what's going on with immigration. 20 years ago, they started pointing out that the population was getting smaller and smaller, percent white, and percent black up, and percent brown way up. That's what's driving all of this. That's why we want to keep the immigrants out, send them out. That's why J.D. Vance is telling white women to have more babies. Everything goes back to the fear of no longer being a majority in the United States. In 1974, it was almost 80% white. Today, it's just under 51%. Georgia is the same way. In 1990, Georgia was 72%. It's now 51%. That's the way it's going, and it's got them scared to death, and that's the basis for the MAGA movement.
All right, sorry, and I just want to echo that sentiment. And when he says that, that's including abortion, right? Because statistically, it is not Black and brown communities who are primarily getting abortions. And so their drive is to say, if white women stop getting abortions, we'll keep the population going up. I know it's uncomfortable, but there's data that supports this. All right, so, I appreciate you bringing that up, sir.
And I'd like to add to the conversation the fact that these tropes that they use, these culture war issues that they use, are used to defray us and defray our attention to how crappy and bad their policies are.
That's right.
And how their policies don't benefit us economically. Their policies don't benefit workers. Their policies don't benefit small businesses. And so they need something to get people to vote for them. So the whole idea was to start all of this culture war so that we would be paying attention to that and not paying attention to policy. It is time to start paying attention to policy.
Right.
Yeah.
On the topic of due process, we had several questions about judicial or judge impeachments. Gwendolyn Glover, did you have a question about judge impeachment, or did you ask it? Where's Gwendolyn Glover? Where's Gwendolyn Glover?
Here we go.
Hi. Okay, really quick. Buddy, I can't tell you my name. I don't want to tell you my name, but I will ask you where you are tonight, and I will also ask you if you know your neighbors. Because I can tell you, I don't know everybody in this room, but if we took some time to get to know one another, I think we could make a big difference.
That's right.
And the fact that you don't know who's helping you in your community and who is willing to help, you don't reach out to one another, our suicide rates go up, and we lose people. We stop, we isolate, and we need to be here for one another. And you're not even being here for us right now, so where are you?
That's right.
I didn't know if any.
Oh, I don't need a mic.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Carter, my question is about immigration and what you're doing, what you're allowing the administration to do with immigration. You are deporting some immigrants that are here legally. What will you do about the administration and their position that A, they're gonna sell citizenship for $5 million, and B, how come it's okay for you to deport brown people, but you wanna welcome white Afrikaners?
Those are Elon's friends.
There's a bigger strategy. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm really nervous about being here, so just bear with me. I really appreciate, Mr. Carter, I don't know where you are, but I'm the really rude woman that's called you a few times. My name is Joey Braverman. I live at 2130 Hanson Street in Savannah, Georgia. I just relocated here in November from the state of Iowa, and God, I'm appalled you've been in office so long. Anyway, I want to say, though, I want to really support I was telling a couple of friends of mine here, you know, there was a bumper sticker. I used to see it on all the cars in Iowa, and it always said, you know, think globally, act locally. And I cannot do this big picture thing. I don't have it in me right now. I don't have the bandwidth. So I said to my friends after the election and after he was moved into office, what can I do? So I moved into a neighborhood where there's a lot of diversity. So that's what I'm taking on. And I've earned my place in that neighborhood. I just had a bullet go through my house 2 weeks ago. And so I know what I'm talking about. And that's okay. It's not about drama. It's about paying attention. And what is it that I need to do for my community as a transplant to Savannah? And I just want to let you know real quick, I've been working with my neighbors and the traffic engineering department. And, you know, these people have been trying to get speed bumps down Treat for years, and we're getting them in a couple months. The reason that's critical is because it's really dangerous, and there's a level of violence when people are going 50 miles an hour down your street. The thing I think about is my daughter. I know the next 3 years are important, but I'm looking forward at even the next election later on. And so I think, you know, how do we get people to vote? And I think people that don't have toilets that flush do not care about voting. And there is a program, Mr. Carter, in Savannah about block grants and monies that are available to these homes where the income is low and they need structural work on their homes. So, you know, I'm just doing what I can because I can't do this big global thing. I'm exhausted already. I really am. I mean it. I don't have the bandwidth, but you know, I can work with my neighbors because if I don't have food, I just can't give a darn that much about elections. I'm so worried about safety. And you know, Maslow said it, you know, if we're worried about safety, we just can't be altruistic.
And I get that now. I get it. So I just wanted to support everybody that is, acting locally, because that is where we need votes. I don't think, Mr. Carter, I don't know. I don't think you're going to change much. That's what I mean that respectfully. I mean, no ill will or disrespect tonight. I'm a little frustrated with the conversation because I just keep hearing the same things over and over again. So what can I do differently? What can I do? Where's my contribution? And I can do that. I can do one tiny little thing. And I just felt a level of frustration tonight. And I'm grateful to be putting it out there because there are ways we can help each other, because there are elections coming up. We got the midterms. And, and we've got, anyway, I've said way too much. I'm moving on. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I do need to advance this. We have this next topic, free speech and voting rights and elections. I don't think that we had any specific submitted questions on that. I have one, and there are several here. My question is just, how are you going to help secure, Congressman Carter, how are you going to make sure and ensure that we have a 2026 election? Then Edward? Oh, okay. Great.
Hi, I'm Carol. I want to build on what my neighbor here and my neighbor over here said about voting, and I'm very concerned about the purges that are happening. That I want to do my part and I'm asking Mr. Carter to do his part to make sure that people who have the right to vote are allowed to vote, and also the people who are marginally said they're worried about food, they're not going to vote. Let's make sure these people have their basic needs met so they have room to be an involved citizen and fight for themselves. So, Mr. Carter, what are you doing to make sure that everybody's going to get their vote in the next election?
So I will say, because I'm not Buddy Carter, and I did not stay at the Holiday Inn Express last night. So one thing that you could do is what you're doing now, and that's showing up, right? Another thing that you can do is there are organizations in our community, League of Women Voters, the organization that I'm the chair of, Chatham County Democratic Committee. We are working to make sure that we are staying abreast of the challenges that are taking place in the Board of Registrars and the Board of Elections. We actually have one of our Board of Elections members here present who asked a question today, who's actually on the front line of the fight. When it comes to those purges, a lot of that stuff, again, politics is local. So the purges that are taking place on the state level, we still have lists, the Democratic Party does, where we can reach out to folks whose names have been purged. The Democratic Party could use your help to actually be a part of reaching out to those folks. So dpccgeorgia.com, dpccgeorgia.com. You can join. There's a nominal fee of $25 that we use to fund our efforts. Our budgets are wide open, but we need people like you to get in the fight with us. We have the list. We need the actual workers. I think the Bible says the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And we need more laborers to actually make those phone calls and knock on those doors for somebody who may be at risk of being purged or has already been purged, so we can help them get squared away.
Yes.
I'd like to just add on the fact that, and this is no disrespect to my friends in Savannah and Chatham County, of which I have many, and I'm proud of that, but this is a big district. This district is 15 counties. It's the entire east coast of the state, and it goes inland about 100 miles up to Appling County at its northwesternmost point. And I'd like to just point out, first of all, I would encourage the organizers here to connect to organizers outside of this area to have these kind of things in these areas where nobody ever goes to talk to them. Please go to drive. I know how far the drive is. I want to encourage you to get out there because that is going to tell people, first of all, that we are here with you and you are not alone. And the other piece is the more we are able to build a stable political foundation across this entire district, we will win more statewide races.
That's right.
That is why that is so important. This is why we have such a problem winning statewide races. So I encourage you to think, act locally, but think district-wide.
I also want to just say, hi, I'm Ivy, so sorry. I'm the chair of the Effingham County Democratic Committee. If you are in Effingham or you know somebody in Effingham, please. We also just chartered the Young Dems of Effingham County. We're getting moving and grooving. I need your help. Thank you.
There are 455,000 names on the purge list in the state of Georgia, not in Chatham County, in the state of Georgia. The list will come out in July. You should, by law, be informed if you're going to be purged. But remember, a lot of folks that are on that list might have moved. They will never get that letter. I encourage you to tell at least 5, 10, 15 people. Periodically go to my voter page. Constantly check your status. And I say that because I went to vote some years ago and I was dead. So, yeah.
Welcome back.
This is why we're encouraging people to constantly, every couple of weeks, every month, and especially by the time the cutoff to register to vote, go to my voter page and make sure that your status is okay to vote. Okay.
Okay, we have several questions of some people who've been waiting. Michael, this gentleman, and then the gentleman back there, and up here. There are three. A lot of people. Michael.
We have an election coming up in June. Vote in that election and you will not be purged.
Yes.
This voting's all great, but they just passed a bill in the House called the
Say
Save
Act.
If you're married, or if you can't prove your name on your ID. So in other words, if you're married, you gotta prove if you're a married woman and it doesn't match your birth certificate, you cannot vote.
It's adopted people, it's trans people, it's a whole lot of people.
If you change your name for any reason, or if you have a birth certificate to validate your identification, if you can't use student identification if you're in college, you can only use a driver's license that's certified. It's got to have that new star on it.
Passport.
It's just not even purging. They're making it so hard to get your vote. They're suppressing the vote as much as women, minority, and if you're a man, you probably don't have a whole lot of problem because you don't change your name. But for any reason, if there's a name change or anything like that, it will not be allowed to vote because it will not match your birth certificate.
And Buddy, tell us why you voted for that.
We have several questions to get through, so I'm going to go to the questions. Sir, and then we'll come over here.
Yep. Michael as well. Although Michael over there said a lot of the things I wanted to say, I wanted to make a couple of questions though, because according to AmericanProgress.org, driver's license and real IDs and military and tribal IDs will not be sufficient. If you do not have a passport, you change your name, you have a. If I am big fan of this, there's something else in our American history that this reminds me of. Anybody guess? It was called Jim Crow.
Yeah.
And here's what I have to say. You have to move the goalpost
to win, you did not win.
That's right.
Yeah. She doesn't lie.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Hey, so I got a question. The president's been levying some illegal EOs against certain law firms, and they've been capitulating. I'm a little bit surprised, but
Yeah.
I worry if these big, powerful law firms are having their speech bowed. I mean, they're getting drugged around as if by the ear by the president. What does that mean for our free speech, and what are you prepared to do to restrain the president from taking these illegal actions?
Did any of you have a response to that?
Impeach.
Everybody's in on it. Midterms are coming up, man.
Midterms are coming up.
That's right.
And then we impeach.
Hello, my name is Tayo.
Louder.
Yeah. Hi, Kyle.
Does this work?
Yeah.
Hello, I just turned 21. This is
Woo!
my first town hall. I've been trying to get my friends to go, and I'm trying to be like, hey, I'm excited when this works. My question is, instead of moving to unregistered voters and keep people out, why don't you support automatically registering people, making it easier for people to vote?
Yes.
Yes.
No, keep going, keep going. Great question. And Kyle, I want to say, usually the town halls go better when the representative shows up.
Well, no, this has been lovely.
Well, I have a question, Mr. Carter. Why is it illegal to give somebody in line to vote a bottle of water, but Elon Musk can give people millions of dollars to vote in Wisconsin? What are you doing about that? We don't hear from you.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I want to make sure that we get to some other issues before I let you go. I wanted to bring up healthcare. Elizabeth Cowell, you had a question about the EPA. Is Elizabeth here? I can read it. I can read it also if you like. Okay, great. Elizabeth back there asks, if you are interested in protecting the health of your constituents, why would you sponsor HR 2288? Which eliminates the protection against certain particulate matter in the air we breathe, which the EPA has in place. Not only do the current rules protect us, but the public health benefits from less illness and death also results in such enormous saving in dollars. I would think that saving taxpayers money and protecting their health is what you should be supporting. You are the main sponsor.
With everything that's going on, that's what he's concerned.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Karen Jarrett, I think you had a similar question. Karen?
I'm here. But read it for me, please.
I mean, it was similar. As a healthcare professional, how can you, in any reasonable conscience, promote a bill to reduce requirements on particulate matter in the air? Thank you for bringing our. Joanne Lukasher is. Maybe not. Does anybody have any questions regarding healthcare and reproductive rights? I shouldn't have. Yeah.
I am a friend of a man who works at.
Excuse me. Oh, not to you, to everybody else.
I'm a friend of a man who works at a vet center here in Savannah. They closed it. That's how you're helping the veterans. Then he contacted me and said, we have to find another location. So all the people who have been renting to government offices are now wise to the fact that the government is not paying. So, there.
Period.
Okay, accept the question for here.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here. A little nervous, but I'm gonna try anyway. I'm feel a lot of things. I'm so insulted by Congressman Carter, but since we're all addressing things to him, I'll start by saying, sir, do you remember when you met me outside of the old courthouse in Brunswick after our first millennial and second African-American mayor was inaugurated? And I was so mad, I told myself if I ever met him, I wasn't gonna shake his hand, but God moves, and giving, you receive more. So I just, I extended my hand, and I knew his assistant, whose name I will not mention because even though I'm mad at him right now, I respect him enough not to dox him. Okay? I feel like that's what respect is, and right now we're out of sorts. So, Congressman, what are you going to do to actually stand up for all of the constituents in the first district?
Yeah.
I am fortunate enough to not be to not be too poor. How about that? My parents went to college, did well. My grandparents, my great-grandparents moved here in 1900-ish, 1904-ish. My roots go back here. My ancestry is older than the country, not only in this location, but from Virginia on. How can you, Congressman Carter, look at me, an African-American, whose ancestry goes back older than the country? I've been here long, since my great-granddaddy was born in Rock Hill, North Carolina, 1704. How can you tell me I don't belong? How can you tell people of color we don't belong? How can you tell immigrants, brown people, you aren't like the 6th, right? I'm gonna get there down in a minute. But what is required of you but to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God? If the Native Americans who we exterminate, the colonizers exterminated, tried to hundreds of years ago, if now their ancestors or their descendants who might be brown might be coming back here to tend to your golf course, can you not just be cool with them? If you love Mexican, if you don't like DEI, I'm gonna leave it with this. Don't eat Mexican food. Don't eat no macaroni and cheese. Don't ever put a rib in your mouth.
We'll take 2 more questions on this topic, and then I want to make sure that we open it to LGBTQ plus rights, and we'll try to fit in as many other questions on any other topics that have been left in your minds.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I want a show of hands to let Buddy Carter know how many people in here know someone who has died from opioid overdose. Keep your hands raised. How many people in here know someone who has been or is now addicted to opioids? Thank you. I hope Buddy Carter sees all these people, because you know where Buddy Carter got his money? Selling opioids in Chatham County. There is you can look it up, Washington Post DEA study that says that Carter's family, small storefront pharmacy, sold millions and millions of opioids to the people of Chatham County. So, Buddy Carter, that's where you got your money. Your money needs to go back into healthcare to help these people and all of your constituents.
The only thing I would add to that is, I believe the number's 3.8 million bills went through that. And I would just add that Representative Carter still accepts money from Big Pharma.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right, McKesson, he still gets money from Purdue, you know, so he's still in it. So Buddy, why? You don't even really need the money, Buddy. You know?
There's a question back there. I don't know where the microphones are. No, Edward back there.
Give me steps in.
So, Buddy Carter is a co-sponsor of the Sanctity of Life Act, which prohibits abortion with no exceptions. So my question to Buddy is going to be, are you prepared to be responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of women who will die without access to abortion as a life-saving measure to the mother's life?
I'm missing them all.
Related question to the pharmacy one. My question is problems in the air. Buddy, Kathy Hodges here. You remember me? I help educate your children at one of the most prestigious, expensive schools in town. My question is, you made a fortune on contracts with nursing homes.
That's right.
Medicaid, Medicare patients. How the hell can you justify voting for a bill that slashes Medicaid by over $800 million?
Unfortunately, we're running low on time. So you had a question? I would like to absolutely open up the floor to questions on LGBTQ+ rights. Please understand that just based on time, we're running low. I'm not trying to cut off any of these questions, but they're going to kick us out at some point.
This is
Good point.
my name is Mercedes. Excuse me. My name is Mercedes Lewis. I live in Savannah. I have a follow-up question to the town hall that if you weren't there, I think that as his constituent, you ought to know that who Buddy represents is the J6ers. They're going to be getting some reparations. They've all been pardoned, but they need more. So we're going to foot the bill to give them some reparations. They got their due process, not like these other people who are being kidnapped off the streets. They got their due process. They were convicted. Then they're set free, let to go home. And I guess he just sort of snuck that under the door that, yeah, we're looking into paying reparations for anybody who broke the law in Georgia.
He did say that.
And I find it infuriating. I find it insulting. And Buddy stands up for the people with money, the oligarchy, and anybody in the Republican Party. And that's about it. So all of your questions, his answer is, I'm doing nothing about it. I'm doing nothing about it. I'm doing nothing about what you're concerned about. But I am going to get some reparations for these J6ers, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of money off your suffering. Sorry.
We've already taken well over the number of questions that he took on that teletown hall.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the 11 questions was from a convicted J6 attendant.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
I just want to follow up on what she's saying. And this is off the format, and I apologize for that. But how long has Buddy Carter been sitting in his chair? How long has he?
12 years.
12 years. Okay, so he's entrenched in this position. So what I want to know, I mean, all these questions are great. But what is the plan to get rid of this guy?
I think that's a great question. I think Patty gave us a blueprint. I think that Wade Herring gave us a blueprint. I think that Brian Reese gave us a blueprint. What it means is, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And let me explain again. When Brian Reese ran, he ran against Buddy Carter to win that seat, right? I was Brian Reese's chief aide before they further gerrymandered the district. One of the things that has happened is that we, and when I say we, those progressive Democratic Party, we have forgotten those smaller counties, the Appalings, the Charlton, the Effingham, the Clinch counties, right? We need to be there now. Engaging with them now, having conversations like this now, so that they aren't afraid, because the reality is in the long counties and so on and so forth, they are highly outnumbered. And in a lot of cases, it is scary. It's pretty dangerous to say that you support a Democratic candidate, let alone say you're a Democrat. So what we have to do in this space, because I understand that there are more than just Democrats in this room, but we have to get out and talk about the actual issues. Farmers are losing right now. Are losing right now. That's an issue that's near and dear to their heart. We have to talk to them in the Clinch County and the Applet County and the Carroll counties about that. When it comes to the economy, when it comes to our veterans, we have to go and talk to them right now. And I'm telling y'all, respectfully, I was diagnosed with BBDS at the age of 12. Anybody know what that is?
Yeah.
Big black dude syndrome. So if I show up in Clinch County by myself, I'm not going to get the reception that you may. So again, when I say dpccgeorgia.com, we need your help. It's things like this, because you can make a difference, sir. You can have a conversation with somebody that I can't, and so the harvest is plentiful. The labor is a few. We've got to get together. We've got to really leverage our collaborative power to make something happen. We can win that seat. Yes. We can win that
seat. I'm afraid I need to conclude this event. I just want to say a few words before you go. Don't rush up. I'm a teacher. I know that you're now eyeing the door, but just wait 1 second. On that note, when we started this indivisible group, there were I think 4, or I think we were the 4th in Georgia. I stopped checking, but it's over 30. They're exploding all over the state. We have people in Effingham County. I know we're trying. We have people in a lot of these rural counties. I think we're trying. We're all working as fast as we can. Some of us are fully employed and are not seeing our children anymore. So we're trying to get in touch with them in order to support efforts to get a representative who actually represents us. I want to say, I encourage you to please, first of all, I encourage you to please scan this in order to sign the letter of these questions to Buddy Carter. I encourage you to visit our website and help us stay involved and to donate. We had to pay for this space because Buddy Carter wouldn't. He's the richest member of Congress.
Wow.
We had one of the richest members of Congress, and we had to pull our money together in order to hold this town hall for him. So please do stay in touch with us. I encourage you to encourage your friends to get involved, especially in rural counties in Georgia, in their local indivisible groups, in their local Democratic parties, or any places they can. Otherwise, I need to conclude.
LGBTQ.
Yeah. Okay. Please do. I didn't have any submitted questions for that.
No, that's fine. Hi, I'm Rosie Schuster, and I'm here, and I need to speak up to this issue. I have a gay son. As soon as Trump was elected, and Project 2025, day one was started by dismantling our institutions, federal institutions. I don't know if any of you are aware of that document, but you need to become aware. Under the diversity, the DEI, the LGBTQ community is under huge attack. There is a plan first of all, pronouns are gone now. Now there's just two genders, so transgender people have been, they committed genocide on them. But the plan is to eventually criminalize conversation about gayness. I mean, look at the document. My son had to get off all social media. I mean, he asked for help from his parents. He's an adult, a successful adult, independent, but he said, in case I have to leave the country, will you take care of my home? Will you take care of my property? So you understand that this is a huge issue for this community, and we cannot ignore them. Just like we cannot ignore the black and brown discrimination and what's going on there. All these people are under attack, so I'm pleading for my son, but I'm pleading for all.
Amen.
Is it on this topic?
It's on this topic.
All right, one last question, then I need to let you all go.
So my name's Robert Dunn. I appreciate what you're doing for your son. I am a gay man. I have 2 children, 2 grandchildren. My husband and I have been together for 34 years. She's right. If you're not familiar with Project 2025, it is the Heritage. A lot of this is all the Heritage Foundation, and it is written in such broad strokes, in such ambiguity, bringing back family values, bringing back, the importance of the family. My family doesn't fit in their family values, right? So it doesn't stop with the transgenders. It doesn't stop with the black and browns. It doesn't stop with the immigration. It will continue. It will continue. It is a bigger picture, and the more we ignore it, the bigger the problem's going to be. And while her son's asking her to take care of his house, if he has to leave the country, my husband and I are looking at building trusts and finding ways to protect our kids and our grandkids should we have to leave the country. Right. So I do believe it's a bigger picture. And Buddy Carter, my question to him is, at what point will you stop, hiding behind your position and come up with and be honest about what you're doing? This is not your brainstorm. This is Heritage Foundation and Project 2025.
Thank you all so much for coming out. Please keep involved. Get your friends involved. Bring them out.
I'm proceeding.
Oh, you are?
No, you are. Oh my God. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, right.